You and me at the moment. I don't see.
Well, we can't see, but I'm sure there's people in the room.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Now, is everyone ready? You ready? Okay. Okay, welcome everyone to the planning board meeting, Thursday, January, yeah, that's mine. January 30th, 4 p.m. and a special meeting, and it's hybrid. We'll be doing a roll call vote because we have members online today. So, okay. Okay, this meeting is being audio and video recorded. All votes will be conducted by roll call. Zoom attendees must use their real name, and which would help with accurate minutes. The chair will recognize participants and let you know when you can speak. Please unmute yourself when not speaking online. And please remember that all the merits of the application are reviewing is about the application and not the applicant. And so we will start with a roll call. So Nat?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
John?
Here.
Acting chair is here, and Mr. Rector is en route. So, okay. We're going to jump right into this. So this, we will go to zoning article amendment. This is solar energy, and I believe this is just cleaning up language, but if Megan, you want to take the lead, please.
Sorry, still getting logged in here. Is
okay.
Lauren on, Billy, as a participant or an attendee?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't heard that one yet. Should I move her?
It said your device ran into a problem, so we'll just throw that one in the bag for now. Is Lauren on as an attendee? If not, it's fine. Okay.
I'm moving her
Just in case you have any technical energy-related questions. So the solar energy bylaw that's being proposed, if you could bring the article up on the screen. Really what it does in a nutshell is add some new terms, insert these terms into the use chart, and clarifies that ground-mounted solar does not count towards ground cover by putting it in the definition of structure. It requires it or to comply with setbacks. If you keep going, Billy. We add new definitions. So, sorry, can you go up?
Oh, sorry.
So solar photovoltaic system, grid-connected solar energy system, roof-mounted solar energy system, and ground-mounted solar energy system as an accessory use. The article then puts ground-mounted solar energy system in all districts as an accessory use, and it puts roof-mounted solar energy system as a Y. That doesn't indicate that the roof mount is in and of itself somehow the primary use. If it's roof-mounted, it's attached to a structure, so it's by default accessory. It's just going to be allowed in all districts. So These changes came out of a consultant's review about our zoning bylaw and suggested providing some clarity around terms to codify existing practice and just, make the process more transparent for people, especially that perhaps don't know exactly, it doesn't keep things open for interpretation, I should say. So this is all that really does. So, and Lauren's here, as I said, if you have any other questions.
Board members, questions, comments for Lauren? Hi, Lauren, welcome. Dave, you good? Okay. All right. Anyone?
Yeah, this is excellent housekeeping.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay. Dave? Sorry, Nat, on your call. John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And the acting chair is an aye. Okay. Commissioners' comments?
Motion to give this a positive recommendation. That,
And yep, and this does require a 2/3 vote.
Okay.
okay.
Second.
Okay, thank you, John. Nat, on your,
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Acting chair is an aye. Okay, thank you very much. This just in, I want to give everyone a heads up. All of the Woodland Drive 4 articles have been postponed till February 6th, is that correct? Okay, so we will not be hearing them tonight. So if anyone is here for that, please come back on February 6th.
If you could please, though, make a motion to
Yeah.
continue to February
You wanna-
6th.
Motion to continue to February 6th.
And that's all 4
All-
articles.
all
It's
Woodland
the,
Drive articles.
it's the lug 2 to R20, the R20 to R10, and then the 2 overlay district changes.
Is a second?
Chair?
Yes,
Mr. Chair, yeah, for people watching and interested, I think it's important just to let people know that the reason it's being continued is to give an opportunity for the proponent and for the neighbors to work something out.
oh, good to know. All right. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Nat,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and the chair is an aye. Okay, see you all February 6th.
Mr. Chair, just for anyone watching or in the audience, even though you're not discussing those, I'm completely recused from all of those articles, and I'm not participating.
Understood. Thank you. Okay, going on to zoning bylaw amendment, technical amendment, secondary dwelling. This was a copy and paste error, I believe is the best way to describe it. Am I right,
Yep,
Megan?
that's correct. There's some, Billy will bring it up on the screen, but there is some language within the definition of secondary dwelling that mirrors the language of ground cover. We believe that must have been a copy paste error at some point in time when we previously updated this, so we're just striking that language.
Okay. Anyone, board members? Anyone? Anyone in the public? No? No one online? Okay, make motion close.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Nat on your motion?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And the chair is an aye. Okay, this is also a quantum vote of 2/3, so, board members, what do you want
Motion
to do?
to give a positive recommendation.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Nat?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And the chair is an aye. Okay, perfect. Okay. Moving on to zoning articles proposed by citizens for the Nantucket 2025 Annual Town Meeting. Up first is the zoning bylaw amendment regulating short-term rentals use, and Mr. McClure is the author. Megan, do you want to lead anything? Are we good?
No.
I'm bringing Fritz over right now.
Okay. Fritz, you muted?
You can hear me now?
Yes, sir. Welcome.
You should see me now.
It's good to see you as well. Welcome.
Yeah. Shall I begin?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good evening again. At the beginning of this public hearing a few weeks ago, I described my article and I explained why I sponsored it. I don't think I need to repeat those comments. I think the board understands my article. If wrong, I'm happy to review it again and make the points I made before. I would like to make just a couple of points before you deliberate. One, there are those who believe short-term rentals should not be regulated, and there are those who believe they should in some way. I am among the latter, and based on votes on similar articles at recent town meetings, I believe that the majority support some regulation of short-term rentals. Two, my article is not complicated. The non-rental use requirements are very modest. Someone must occupy the property on a non-rental basis for 30 days, and those days need not be consecutive. Third, my last point, I think, and I think significant, I have included an exception for investment property that encourages off-peak, I'll say winter rental for temporary housing for island employees. There are many people new to the island who need housing. There are many organizations that need to provide housing, even on a temporary basis. Under my article, an owner may rent on a short-term basis as much as they want, as long as the owner rents the property for a continuous period of at least 6 months a year to one tenant. There is no owner occupancy required in this case. I hope you'll support my article, and I thank you for giving me the time to speak to you.
Thank you, Fritz. Board members' comments? Okay. Just Abby DeMolina just joined us. And I see, John, you have your hand up, please.
I do. Through you, Mr. Chair. Well, Fritz, first of all, welcome to the growing band of short-term warriors. Thank you for continuing the cause. I only have one question, Fritz, and that is, how do you see enforcing the lot being used as 1 day less for STR versus its primary use? That was one that has caused us a lot of headache before. So I'd just be interested how you see that being regulated, enforced.
Sure. I think I mentioned, I went into that a little bit at the last meeting. I'd be happy to go through it again. I think of this as a fairly simple process. And I don't think of enforcement in this particular case, meaning that every person who has a short-term rental or reports a short-term rental is going to be somehow obligated to prove to some third party how many days of occupancy there have been. I've envisioned it something more like the IRS, where people voluntarily submit their reports under the bylaw, and that whoever's in charge of enforcement, which I believe so far is the Department of Health, that whoever that would be will have random audits. And if one is subjected to a random audit, and I mean, if I were doing it, I'd design some percentage each year that people actually get called up to actually show what it is. I believe that most people are honest and will honestly keep those records. I don't think it's any more difficult than those people who move to Florida and have to keep track of how many days they're out of state. And they do that by simply having a calendar, and they simply mark on the calendar what days of rental, and in this particular case would be what days of rental, what days of non-rental, and whatever. And if called upon, presumably, to somehow prove or verify what they're saying or the position they're taking, that presumably if they have short-term rentals, they will have reported those days. Presumably they will have leases or some record of the number of days. And like I say, the other side of it, meaning what the owner occupancy requirement, but as I've noted, it really isn't an owner occupancy, because that non-rental use can be by an owner, a family member, or even a friend. And you would simply record who those are. If there needed to be some verification, then some way of contacting the people. But I view it as a voluntary type system with random audit, and I don't think it has to be more difficult than that.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, I don't see anyone in the public. Commissions, what do you want to do? Oh, Dave, sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I, so, we've gone around and around with this, and, I think that we as a board voted unanimously to support the Baltzer article. So I'm not sure we can give a positive recommendation to another article, but I think that it's important that, it seems that we as a board have given a positive recommendation to Baltzer, and I guess in short saying that we feel that the best way to regulate is to codify and to regulate through 123, the general bylaws. With that said, we're clearly a split community, and I don't think we should give this a negative recommendation, but I don't think we can give it another positive recommendation. I think that it's important that the community makes this decision and debates it on town floor. And Fritz, I think this is the best thought out accessory use article that we've seen. And although I don't agree with it, I appreciate its simplicity, and I think that the community needs to decide. So how we do that as a board, I'm not sure whether it's to state that somehow in our motion and give it and take no action and let Fritz or somebody call it on the floor. But I think that, history's shown that our recommendation really doesn't hold much water on this subject. And unfortunately, and that we don't put our fingers on the scale any more than we already have, and encourage Fritz to call this and let the debate happen on town meeting floor.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
I think that was well said.
Yeah.
Just a quick add-on to Dave's. Our comment, Megan and Leslie, could reflect what Dave is talking about. We don't have a motion that says, let town meeting decide, all in favor say aye. We don't have a motion that says that. We never have, you know what I mean? And if we don't take a position, then we're not doing our job. But town meeting, like Dave said, is gonna decide. We just because we say something positive, believe me, that doesn't mean it's positive. I think we all know that. But the conversation about short-term rentals is going to continue to happen at town meeting, regardless of what we say. And the other issue is the FinCom. I don't like having opposite votes on certain, it does happen occasionally, but it's not something that I think we should be encouraging, either. So I would agree taking no action is, and with a comment regarding what Dave said, I think is important. That we didn't just say take no action and that's it. There's got to be a comment that reflects that, of that this is the better of the ones we've seen for regulating in that way. But it is a little confusing for sure, in my opinion. But I think that we should, put a decent comment in that explains it. So.
Okay.
All right.
Welcome, Mr. Rector.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry for being a few minutes late. Boston traffic was hell.
Nope, all good. Do you want to weigh in, or we're still, the public comment is still open? I don't know if you want to weigh in.
And where exactly are we at the moment? I'm sorry.
So Dave and Nat just said that we like this, but we are more in favor of taking no action, but also adding a comment that we thought this is a very good article out of all the STRs we've seen, but at the same time, we've approved Ms. Bultzer's article unanimously, and so that's where we're at.
So that one was approved, and you're now discussing the article that was submitted by Mr. McClure, correct?
Correct.
All right, beautiful. Sorry about that. Thank you for bringing me up to speed rapidly. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I have no comment at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. Carolyn, do you want to speak at this moment?
Thank you. It's
Welcome.
Caroline Bolzer, sorry. I just wanted to, for my purposes, clarify, because Dave said that he was wanting to give it a vote of take no action because he was aware that at town meeting there was a split. And I don't know if we're really aware of what the town meeting holds this year, because we're not there yet. And I do hope that it's fresh and different, because we're looking at different articles and we're looking at different data. We have a year under our belt. And so what I'm wondering is, when articles are written and they're answering the questions from the town and they're speaking to planning board to say why their article speaks to the mission statement of the planning board, if you could please clarify the way in which the McClure article upholds the planning board mission. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Dave, Chair, Mr. Chair.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to Caroline. I think what's important to understand is we gave yours a positive recommendation.
Mhm.
So we as a board felt strongly that your article is the proper direction to regulate STRs. In other words, to codify, even though yours is a straight up codify, but then that preserves our ability to regulate through 123, the general bylaws. What we're saying about Fritz is that we don't agree with this form of regulation as a board, but that his article is viable and it is the best article of this sort that we've seen, the best accessory use article, and that even though we don't agree with this form of regulation, that really it's the community's decision to make, and that we shouldn't be giving it a negative recommendation. We can't give it two positives on the same issue, so we're going to take no action and create a motion that reflects the board's feelings.
Yes.
I hope that
Makes sense.
clarifies it for you, Caroline.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Board members? No one in the public? Fritz, last bite of the apple?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Oh, John, are you seconding, or do you have something to say?
I have something to say.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
Hold on a second, because we got a motion on the floor. Do you want to?
Rescind.
Okay. All right, now it's rescind his motion. Go ahead, John.
Well, I heard everything that Dave had to say, but given that there is two sides to this, and I get why we gave Caroline's a positive recommendation, but is it really not legal to give both of them and a positive recommendation, and do as Dave has said, let the town meeting decide? I just wonder if we feel so much towards Fritz's article, it seems a little bit, I guess I feel like we should be giving it something more than a take no action, because of how we feel about what he's got. And as David said, it's the best we've seen. But if that is not possible, I'm okay. But I would just ask, can we consider giving both articles a positive recommendation? Thank you.
Chairman Iverson, you want to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think that and if I'm wrong and I'm mischaracterizing this, please, board members, tell me this, but I think that we gave a full-throated positive recommendation to Caroline's, and I'm not sure how we can do that, how we can do that on both. We have a position that we've taken,
Mhm.
and I think we should stand behind that position. At the same time, we need to we can't give two positives. And so I think that it should reflect in our motion that that Fritz is a very, very viable article, and that really this decision is in the hands of the community. And we're not giving it a negative recommendation. We're not giving it a positive recommendation because we feel that codification and regulation through general bylaws is a better method. So I think that this is really the best we can do, to be honest, John,
Okay.
in my opinion. Again, anyone can speak up if they don't agree with me.
Okay, we're gonna hang on one, Barry, hold on a second, we're gonna go to Leslie.
Dave kind of said this already, but I just want to point out that the board has a responsibility to the town meeting voters to make a recommendation on articles. And you have two articles here that are attempting to address the same issue, short-term rentals, and you need to pick one. You need to give clear direction to town meeting, and you can explain yourselves in your comments, and you defend the position of giving one a positive recommendation, and you can explain why you gave the other one a take no action if that's what you're going to do with that. But you do need to give town meeting clear direction with one positive motion.
Yeah, and onto that note, I mean, if we did not to adopt, it's dead. So, I mean, so if Caroline's article dies, you know, Fritz has got a better chance coming back next year for the special town meeting. Mr. Director, please.
Thank you. No, I agree with what Mr. Iverson and Ms. Snell said there. Town meeting voters are really counting upon us having done the homework. And if we agree to multiple articles, even two, that basically reflect the same substance, if we're saying yes to both, then I honestly don't believe we've done a very good job about communicating to the public what we feel. They don't always go along with us, but they do count upon us for a recommendation. So I think that's a very important thing that we should be walking away with each and every time, is to at least express, you know, what we believe in and why we believe in it, and take it from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, do you want to make a motion again?
Did Fritz have his hand up for a sec?
No? Did he?
I don't want to belabor it because I mean but I did at the last meeting. I thought I heard Leslie say that you could have two positives, but perhaps I misheard, or perhaps she's simply changed her mind. But I was simply pointing that out.
Okay, Barry, do you want to? I saw your finger go up.
No, you know what? I'm gonna let that go. But I'm just sticking by my previous statement. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right, Nat.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay. Second. Anyone? Thank you. Okay, Nat, on your motion.
Aye.
Mr. Director.
Aye.
Mr. Kitchener.
Aye.
Mr. Iverson.
Aye.
And the acting chair is an aye. Okay. Board members.
Make a motion to take no action on this article
For the comments.
with the comments that we've suggested.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I will second it, but just I need just a tad bit of discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
So you've crafted as take no action, but the comment section, has that been totally vetted out and acted upon, or is that a work in progress?
I would.
So
Hang on, Leslie, go ahead.
typically, we draft the comments for you based on your conversations at the meeting, and then we provide them to you to review prior to the warrant with the FinCom recommendations being finalized. So we are currently planning to do that on March 6th.
All right, good. No, that's fine, because I would like a little bit more time to contemplate what that comment field will look like afterwards. So thank you.
Yeah, I knew it was coming back on February 6th, but that's great. So back on the vote. So Barry, you were yes.
Yes,
John,
Aye.
No, I think Barry seconded.
I
don't
was
think-
seconding.
Oh,
So yes.
yep. So John,
Aye.
Dave,
aye.
and the acting chair is an aye. Okay, thank you.
Well, hold on. You didn't get a vote from Barry or Nat, did you?
Nat made the motion, Barry seconded it, John voted,
Okay.
you voted, I voted.
All right.
What's going on in that van? Okay,
Ring, my friend.
moving on to zoning article, lug one. Thank you, Fritz. Zoning article amendment, lug one to R20 and town and county overlay district change 25 Monahasset Road. And this is the McKays. Welcome, Peter. You're gonna mute. There we go.
Better?
Yep, welcome.
Thank you very much. If if I may, we spoke obviously quite a bit at length last January 9th about this. And I'll reiterate just a little bit of it there, that basically our goal is not to be able to increase density one bit. We had talked about one deed restriction on this article, which would emphasize that there literally be no more building whatsoever, should this be approved. We identified some inconsistencies in our area, including a lot behind us that's 1/3 acre. The fact that we have lifeguard housing, we have a children's day camp, a church, and soon to be Nisha. There's been a lot of inconsistencies in our area, and we wanted to emphasize that aspect. Last January 9th, it was suggested that we work with the planning board, which we did. And the suggestion there, which we're willing, oh, and the airport too, obviously. How can I forget about the airport encroaching on us? The suggestion was, and my brother and my wife and I, we all agree that we add an additional deed restriction, hopefully to allay any concerns that we're trying to do something devious here. And that additional deed restriction would be that it would be sold only to year-round residency. I hope I'm phrasing that right, Megan. So that there would in fact be two deed restrictions to this, with obviously the primary goal to allow my brother and his family, my wife and our family to be able to have individual ownership of the area. It's currently lug one. We're looking to be able to get it zoned as changed to R20, so that we could be able to own each of our homes individually. Again, the emphasis is to be able to just move along with our lives and not create any kind of a disturbance in our neighborhood. As I've mentioned before, all of our neighbors are fully in support of us and this article. So that it seems to me, I know you're bound, and I really do, again, appreciate the interest that everybody put forward last January 9th to see if there's a way to do this. That's up to you guys. I don't know enough about this to be able to add anything different, other than the fact that we're looking to be able to add the two deed restrictions, and everything in that area, and that housing area will be exactly the same. No additional building and year-round residency. So if there's anything that I missed, please ask me questions. I'm more than happy to clarify anything that I may have missed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I thought you did a very good job summarizing. Anyone in the public or board members have any comments from the McKays? Not seeing any. Okay. No one's on? Okay. Mr. Iverson, Chairman Iverson.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, first of all, I want to say I support you, Peter McKay, 100%. I just have a hard time. I have a hard time support. I think this article puts us in a very difficult situation as a board. I think that it would it would create a situation that if we gave this a positive recommendation, that we'd be flooded with people that would want to spot zone their property. And so that's a great concern. And I think as a board, it would be a big mistake for us to do that, unfortunately, because I hear you. I wish that there was something in our realm that we could do to make this work for you. I think that your best shot is if I doubt we'll give this a positive, at least in my opinion. I can't vote for a positive, but I think that even if you don't and you call it to town meeting floor and you make an impassioned speech, that I would hope the town would see it your way. My only concern there is that you could easily get the vote you need at town meeting, and then the AG pulls the rug out from underneath you. And that would, I imagine, be really heartbreaking. So I mean, I think the best path for you is probably to rally your neighbors to get more properties into this and come back at special town meeting. And if you got your neighbors to enjoin and ask for a zoning change, then it would no longer be spot zoning. I think that with deed restrictions, it's something easy for the board to get behind. And hopefully you'd have a positive outcome. But again, I personally support you, Peter. I really wish I could do the gymnastics to give a positive recommendation, but it's really difficult from at least for where I sit. Thank you.
I'm going to go to the public.
Yeah, so can I, oh, raise my hand. Okay.
Welcome.
Hi, is Ann Faniff, is that who you're acknowledging?
Yes, sorry.
Hi, yes, my name is Ann Faniff. My husband is David McKay, and Peter and Allison, my brother and sister-in-law. We certainly are aware of the board's mission. I just feel the need to put out there, and I understand concerns about precedent and the need and the point that there are many other people that you raised. I don't think it is the same thing, and I don't think the members of the town think it's the same thing. I do think the people of Nantucket are very familiar with our situation, which we don't need to go into. I'm sure you're all keenly aware of it. But our wells were destroyed by airport spread PFAS, and the airport is an enterprise account of the town. And I do hear the conscionable, thoughtful reasoning that you're all going through, but I would hope you could be a little more, forgive the term, courageous in supporting families who have been drinking unknown PFAS water for years, and all we're now looking for is a kind of neighborliness and acknowledging that there are special situations. And we can't go to the grocery store or the post office without people saying yours is a unique situation. So I just need to put that out there. And I want to say again, I do thank you for hearing us and giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. I'm going to go to Mr. Peter McKay.
Thanks. I just wanted to clarify one thing that, and again, I haven't looked all over the island to determine. I know the word spot zoning is a very, very negative term, almost like the word liberal in Georgia. But that being said, this is a different situation from my understanding. Most times when somebody wants to change something, it's a house, you want to subdivide it into a smaller section so that you can build another house. And the difference here is that these two houses, two separate families, have been around for 40 years. My understanding of individual zoning, where it's just one spot zoning, is to be able to increase the value by adding additional property. I don't think there are really many other cases like ours that have requested, just as David said, this puts you guys in a pickle. And I think the focus is so much on the wording of spot zoning, but taking a look a little deeper, I really tend to think that there aren't many other cases where two separate families, a primary and a secondary, with no more building going on. That's sort of a different situation than the typical spot zoning that I would be familiar with. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else in the public? Not seeing any. Okay.
Where is everybody?
Hang on.
Is somebody on now?
Well, Barry wants to go.
Go ahead.
All right, Barry, you go, and then I'll go to Nat.
Yeah, go ahead. Go to Nat first. That's okay. I'll wait a minute. It'll give me a chance to really formalize things a bit better. Thank you.
Okay. This, again, we back to the same conversation we had last month, or earlier this month, excuse me. We have a way to separate the ownership. I'm just looking at you, Dave, because you're the only one here. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is really important to explain this. But your house became the covenant. Your house is worth, I don't know what the formula is right now, 736,000 or something, whatever that is. And then the primary dwelling, deed restricted, year-round, is going to be probably around $1 million, $1.2 million-ish, something like that, somewhere in that number. This isn't common. Your brother's right about that. But this will be more common as time goes on, as we get to the next cycle. And we're trying to create this deed restriction program, all the stuff you just saw, that's been on, some of the news has caught on to that. And it's a great program. That is a really good thing to do. But I want to just turn to staff on something completely different that we need to get this answered. The variance route, creating a non-conforming subdivision. In other words, turning it into one of those lots in Tom Nevis that's 50,000 square feet that you can't build anything past a certain amount because you can't. But it's, so what happened to you, and this is where they know more than me, but we've been talking about this since this last meeting, where you'd create two lots that are non-conforming, but they're market rate. That you wouldn't have a covenant, you would have the two deed restricted lots by just default. Like, you can't build anymore. You have 7% ground cover, you don't change the zoning, which is where the problem comes in with this. But you get exactly what you want at the same time. Now, Leslie, you got the brain on this whole thing. I, talked to Susan a little bit about this. This is something that's going to happen down the road with other places as I don't want to say we've run out of zoning changes, but we're at the end of that now. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just keep running around, little zoning over here, little zoning over there. It depending upon what's around it. Like what Dave said about your neighborhood, that whole block, that's different because that wouldn't be spot zoning, but there's another solution if we could get that to happen. So how would that work, Leslie? What is the process for this, what I'm talking about?
So for them to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals and apply for a variance, they would need to just get a survey showing the new properties. They would need to apply to the Zoning Board of Appeals, request the variance. There's very specific criteria for why a variance may be granted. One of the criteria is undue financial hardship to the property owner or something to that effect. I don't have it right in front of me. And there are other findings as well that the zoning board could make, but they would need to get 4 out of the 5 Board of Appeals members to vote for the variance. The variance could include conditions, just like a planning board special permit can. It could include year-round occupancy or really whatever the board wants to put on it. That is, that makes sense to link to that type of relief.
Because all the tools in the toolbox that have been put in for fee simple separation, which would what your house would end up being if it was a covenant. It's fee simple. It's not a subdivision, but it becomes a separate property legally. That doesn't work for you, and I get it. Everybody does. That doesn't work because you've had this house. You guys have lived in it since day one, and all of a sudden, this issue comes up, which makes sense. Forget about the airport. Like, this is a problem whether we had the airport situation or not. Like, you're in a weird position right now where you have essentially one lot and you can't really separate ownership other than the covenant. And I think, in my opinion, I think this is going to become something that could be part of the year-round housing initiative, Leslie, as far as this. This route is a little different, but it makes more, you're getting what you want at the same time, okay? So if they went to R20, let's just hypothetically say, we're going to be R20 now, that's all of a sudden 12.5% ground cover, but you got to put all these restrictions on it, okay? So that no one can build more. Now sewer comes down there, and you're going to have water. All of a sudden, you're on Vespa Lane at R20. 20 years later, somebody wants to make this into a real lot and wants to build a second dwelling, which everybody does, you know, when they can. I just trying to figure out a way to not change the zoning, but give them what they want at the same time. But, I mean, there isn't a tool to do this through the planning board directly, what you're asking for, other than a zoning change, with lots of signatures and run with the land guarantees. You know, it wasn't the same as what we did on Chatham Road. It's not the same. That was different completely.
We don't know.
This is not, this is definitely a one-off-y kind of in the middle of nowhere thing. So that's my thought. I don't know where we go from there. I don't know if that's viable. Should we meet with the ZBA? Is this something that you guys can work out with them? Or is this something that, I just don't want them to be in limbo. I also don't want them to go to town meeting and get everything, you know, confused with this whole thing, and it kind of like turns into something else when we have a potential other route to take for them, other than the neighborhood part. The neighborhood part is different. If you can get everyone to agree to it, that might be more palatable, but town meeting might not think so. I want a simple answer for you guys, because I know what you're asking for, and there just isn't another answer other than the ZBA route or zoning. It's not fair for you to have one house worth X and the other one worth Z when they're exactly the same. Like, it doesn't make sense with what you're trying to do. So, unless the formula changes on the covenant, but it's not going to change for a while because of interest rates, unless they change the way they do it. However they come up with the formula for that, which I've been explained multiple times. I still don't understand it, but that's the story. So I don't know what else to say. I'm just trying to do the right thing, but at the same time, not create more problems. What's your thought?
So,
Yeah, Dave, hold on.
Mr. Chair, I think in the short term, for the planning board to promote a single lot rezoning such as this is a bad planning practice, and I think it's something that you shouldn't encourage. I mean, I feel for the McKays and their situation, and, you know, maybe there's a workaround of some sort. I mean, I don't think right now, today's the time to problem solve that, but we could talk about it with them or talk about it with the board for situations like this that may come up in the future, you know, where there may be an opportunity to, you know, come up with some real community benefits in addition to something that benefits the owner. That's certainly worth looking into. But I think for now, you know, the board should take no action on this article. And if the McKays want to move forward immediately, I think the zoning board of appeals variance option, you know, whether or not that's granted is another thing, but I think that's the most appropriate route.
Okay.
I'm good for right this second.
Dave, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I know you can't really answer this, Leslie, but I guess you might be able to give us some advice. If we went to bat for them at the ZBA, would that be helpful?
I can't answer that question. I don't know how they would react.
Thank you.
But you could certainly, take a position on an application and make a recommendation or not to the zoning board of appeals. I mean, the planning board has done that in the past. They used to do it much more routinely when the broad authority of the ZBA was a little different than it is now. There were more issues that were of planning concern than are on their agendas, in the past 10 years or so. But you can always support or not support an application that's in front of the zoning board of appeals.
Historically, was it helpful? Can you recall?
I think it can go either way, just depending on the type of application and what other issues may come up with neighbors or other things.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Leslie. Thank you.
Leslie, just on that note, okay, we're in a different time right now, okay? Like the ZBA, their powers for something like this is I don't want to say a new thing, but we as a community are trying to create year-round dwellings, year-round properties. Like, if anyone can't figure that out right now, I don't know, they're on the ski git or something. This is a new way to get something done in certain cases that really is doing exactly what we're asking. It's just that in this particular case, and there's probably going to be more, I mean, you could have one in Tom Nevis where you've got these massive lots that if there was a way to do that, you'd have 2 lots that are restricted. That's what we want to happen, right? I mean, that's what we're looking for. And it doesn't cost the town a penny of subsidy from whether it's Affordable Housing Trust or whatever it is. There isn't any. This just does what they're asking for. I don't think it's wrong to discuss with the ZBA that this is not something that was a giveaway. This is a keep, not a give. You know what I mean? So I just, I know that they're not like pressed to time. They have to have this done right now. I just don't want to have mixed messages at town meeting. It is not the right thing to do because it's confusing. See how many people are here right now? 12, right? When you go to town meeting with something like this and you start talking about it, we're going to turn it into something that it isn't, and I don't want that to happen to them at all. You know what I mean? So, and I do understand what Ann said. There's a possibility that all of a sudden the whole audience says, oh, this is great. But when the next person wants to do it, it won't be. That's the problem. You know what I mean? And if this area it was in a different zoning situation where there was R20 right near it, or, somewhere else, then it would be a whole different animal. You could deed restrict it. It would be easy to get the positive discussion going with it. But this is not like that. I want them to have what they want, but it has to be in a way that palatable. What do you think, Joe? You're the other land guy.
I'm going to go to Barry.
In a different way.
And then I'm going to go to, actually, Barry, do you mind if I go to Peter McKay and then go to you?
Please go right ahead.
Okay. Peter, do you want to jump in, please?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to mention, and again, all of you, thank you for your interest in endeavors here. But we did go to the ZBA 3-4 years ago, and it was almost like preconceived idea on their part that they looked at it through what I would call very narrow glasses and didn't come even close to what you guys are trying to do. So, from David and Nat's perspective, I'm speaking for my brother, obviously, at this point as well. I would have very much appreciated if you could find a way to talk to the ZBA. It is a little bit of a different ZBA, and it then was comprised back in 2020. But this is the only other, because we went to the ZBA, they said, and so we figured this is the only other way to go about it, doing whatever we can control in terms of restrictions to be able to make it palatable and as conforming as can be. So in terms of, sorry, my wife's phone just went off. In terms of us agreeing to, if it's possible, go to the ZBA, absolutely, yes. I would very much appreciate any efforts that might result in the, and to your suggestion, that if there's something that can be done without this way allowing the same result, again, we're not looking for any unique or single path. Any path that works at this point in time, you all know what we're trying to do. So thank you.
Let me just give you another way to look at this. When you look at Tom Nevers on the GIS, that's a lot of land out there, and it's all in LUG3. And you got 10,000 square foot lots, you got 50s, you got 120s, and you got those massive 4.5 acre lots on the west side. But it's all in LUG3. Nobody's complaining. But it was created because of the lots were created before zoning. So all those non-conforming lots have a minimum ground cover by the state.
Mhm.
It was in 4 or 5 years ago, Peter, it was a different time. Even though it seems like it was last week, you couldn't have even had this conversation then.
We know.
Because they would have laughed at you. Why would we want to make non-conforming lots? We have Tom Nevers, we have all these other, there's probably quite a few other ones around. But but today, we're at the end of the big zoning changes because there was a lot of zoning that needed to be changed, obviously. But this is sort of like a surgical procedure kind of thing to make this work without causing any change at all, except the lot lines and the ownership part. And it's not like you're making, you're benefiting like a zoning change way of doing it. So I think that it's worth, presenting that to them and making them understand this is a year-round housing initiative that, through the powers that they have, that is a new era. We're in a different time. Where else is there stuff like this? I know Surfside has got all kinds of crazy lot issues that were done in the 1890s. I mean, there's other places. It's just, I can't just come up with it in my head. Walnut, it's got R1 with big lots, and goofy. But I mean, this is sort of like a mini Tom Nevers situation, in my opinion. That's the only way I can come up with something.
What about this little lot that we got? That was not a part of.
My wife is telling me that, for what it's worth, that this.
Hold on. We got
my bad, sorry.
go on. Okay. Sorry. Are you done now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, Peter. Do you want to?
Yeah, sorry about that, Nat. I did. My wife was reminding me to let everybody know, in case you don't, that this lot was purchased before 3M and the development area there. It's grandfathered. It's quite old, and all the zoning and restrictions came well after the purchase of that land. Whether that has any difference as far as whether it makes any difference as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, we were part of the 3M.
We weren't part of 3M. We were not part of that whole 3M development. We were there. We preceded them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barry, do you want to?
Yeah, I do. Peter, I'm not going to disagree with my peers at this point. I think we'd all like to be able to do something with this. It's just with the way things are configured at the moment, there's nothing that, we're struggling to find something in the toolbox that will make this thing work. And unfortunately, it's not really there at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
The short game of this says I think even with the ZBA, you're going to run into some problems there. It's got to be an incredible case of hardship that has to occur out of this. And even then, it's still frowned upon creating non-conformities at this point. And that's a big thing. And the moment a non-conformity is created as well, too, with anyone can challenge it. And I could easily see either the Attorney General or worse, Land Court challenging it as well. And both of those, in my opinion, are really not where you want to go. because if either of them enter into the fray, I don't see the probability of it passing high. As a matter of fact, I see it kind of putting a bad stamp on top of it saying, okay, well, if you consider it in the future, there's a decision here that says, from Land Court, why we really don't think you should be doing it at all. It definitely raises a lot of eyebrows in the zoning community. That's the short game. I think there may be a longer game that needs to be looked at, but it's not at this town meeting. It's going to involve a good hard look at the neighborhood itself and come to grips with some certain things that are going on at this point. I've got some ideas, but they really need to be vetted out incredibly well before we get there, because like anything, we want to be able to go either before the town and especially before the AG and stuff and say, yeah, this is incredibly valid. Go ahead. I dare you to challenge it, actually. And the last thing that's not lost on me either, there's been a sentiment over the course of the past few years worth of time where town meeting doesn't seem to like density at all in any way, shape, or form. That I'm watching more and more articles just being shot down, even by mentioning, even with restrictions and everything else, mentioning the fact that, oh, you're going to make the lot smaller. Oh, what does that mean? What is that going to mean for the rest of the day? I mean, people just throw all these doubts into place. I don't want to discourage you, but there's also, at least from this one person's opinion, there's a very cold, hard reality that has emerged out of town meeting as well, too. So I don't want you to give up the ship, but it doesn't look like, from our perspective, that it's going to be today or in the short term. But that doesn't mean there aren't other solutions that that can come up to the deck for a long-term solution. Thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Can we go over to Robert Little, please?
And Robert, please unmute.
Welcome, Robert.
I hear what Barry's saying and what Nat's saying about caution at town meeting. It could get pretty feisty. I really support Nat and Peter's thought about collaborative spirit with the ZBA. Even though you got shot down, Peter, 4 years ago, it's a different time now. There's a different vision today about year-round housing. I mean, it's actually becoming blatantly clear. We've only talked about the housing debacle for the last 40 years, but now it's becoming clear that we need to do something about it. So I think if the planning board could team up with the McKays for some productive conversations with ZBA members, that might be a healthier way towards success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Okay. Anyone else? All right. I guess I haven't waited. So I feel the McKay's pain. I truly do. I understand exactly what's going on. Having two family members working at the airport, if you will, I know what's going on there, so I feel that. But I just feel that it sounds like a very simple solution. Just across the street, a woman wanted to have their lot subdivided because for needs to her own, but it failed at the town meeting miserably. And while this is a simple application, I just feel that, as Dave said, I think it would be successful at town meeting. I feel that the AG would shoot it down, or as Barry said, land court. So I would like to, recommend to the McKays, like, go to the ZBA, take one more shot of that, but at the same time, while that's going on, work with us and see if there's some way we can get the neighborhood or somewhere around the neighborhood to work together. I think that that would be your most successful way to get a positive recommendation from the state and everyone included. I think it would be better served. I just feel that you're going to go all the way and get there and just be at a closed door. And I would rather see this be successful, as Nat has been saying. Our hearts are with you. We now understand what you're trying to do. Even Nat came up with a couple of different ideas, but I feel that that's going to not quite work. But I would also like to kind of think on this and what is the best way to go about this, and are there solutions that we could work on? I would definitely reach across the table to the ZBA and the members and, let them know what we kind of ran into. But I feel that the best way to do this right now would be to, go forward if you want to go forward to the town meeting. But I would probably put this on hold if it was me, and then go to the ZBA. It is a different board, and I think that they would look at this in a different light. And then if that ran in while that was going on, I think that we could craft something for the special town meeting that's coming up. I think get your neighborhood available and together. I think that Megan and Leslie's door is open, that we could put this together and kind of have this broaden out a little bit. I think would be really wise. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. So anyone else? John, do you want to chime in?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. McKay, I feel exactly the way my colleagues do, so I'm not going to repeat all of that. The only thing I would add is that it's obvious that you have a lot of goodwill on this board and others to, solve your situation. And of course, it's your decision what you do at town meeting. But I would just say, if it was me, I would be really careful that I don't, throw myself on the town meeting and then end up with, as Barry said, the land court or the AG shooting this down, and then you really are done, and all these other things we're talking about have a much less chance of being successful. So, it might be better to wait for the special town meeting, or obviously your decision, but just be careful not to create a situation where all the goodwill that's obvious this afternoon comes to nothing because of a ruling that will make that meaningless. So that's just my thoughts, Mr. McKay. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have some? No?
Real quick, on this whole land court thing and challenging, I don't, not an expert, but I don't think that should be said without some kind of evidence. Okay, that's number one. And number two, the housing part, look at how much stuff we've done. Just go back to the original covenant when it was really a condo and changing it to the covenant. How many covenants are there now? 140 in that area? Something like that. Then the tertiary. Now we have a tertiary covenant. If your lot went on the market tomorrow with a video and a drone and all that, and it showed the houses being torn down and a pool and a huge house with a cabana, that be what everybody wants? You see what I mean? Like, that's the alternative. And we've been watching that for 15 years, right? People cashing out, see you later, have a good day, with a briefcase of cash. Now it's 3 briefcases cash. You're trying to do what we've been trying to do for a long time. And you're in this weird spot. There is not a conventional solution or a solution that's in the toolbox of housing. We don't have something that does this for what you need. Just say, okay, this is what we're doing, and you come in with a application and we approve it. This requires something that is odd to look at on a zoning map with this one lot of pink R20 and the rest of it is lug 1. That just doesn't happen. But I just feel that we should wait and, like Joe said, and try to get the ZBA, work with them, whatever we have to do to get, this is not a typical situation, and it's actually a solution to other people's problems, that this is gonna come up. This isn't gonna be, you're not gonna be the only ones with this situation. But I just don't, like I said, I just don't want to go to town meeting with an R20 article sitting there like that. It will raise lots of questions. I wish there was a way we could do something through the planning board for 1 acre zoning to do something like this through some other kind of article for that. But I don't know what that would be. We've never talked about anything like this before. Dividing a lot, but it's deed restricted, but it's not a covenant. That's a big deal like that, if there was a way to do it, but I don't think there is.
But I think the common ownership of the brothers is a unique.
It is, no, I know, it really is.
Helps in some ways.
It does help them.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. McKay.
Hi, I'm David McKay, Peter's brother. I appreciate, like Peter said, all the, you're all trying to help us. Again, Peter and I and Ann and Allison, we all want to have this succeed. I'm not quite sure. Obviously, it sounds very convoluted. The ZBA, I mean, as Peter said, we went there 5 years ago. We'd be quite happy to go there again. I would hopefully, working with the planning board, with you guys, if you could work and have enough input there, that we would have a good chance of being successful. Again, part of this, with the ZBA is I don't know if you use a word like compassion, but just the unique situation here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm living here for the rest of my life, hopefully. My kids want to be here, but hopefully too at times. It just baffles me. I mean, I know everybody wants to work with us, but we're good people and we're looking for a solution after some really hard times at the airport. And I guess the ZBA might be the option, but but you guys could have enough sway. I don't know what we will definitely have our neighbors with us too. It would seem like let's have that checked off and work. But I'm kind of rambling here, but that's my thought.
No, you just said something, but I want to vet this out later on. I'm going to talk to staff, but I think that we should talk off camera next day or two. I just need to. There's conversations going on, and I'm starting to brainstorm that I just don't want to say anything and pay myself in a corner or give you hope on something that would die. Billy? Oh, sorry. Okay. You want to go back? Peter, Ann, who wants to go first? Want to go ladies first?
Ladies first always.
Okay. And
thank you. And again, I can't thank you enough for the creativity. I'm feeling the need to be creative and to be supportive. And as I'm listening to all this, I'd be there myself, but I picked up a cold at school and I didn't want to infect all of you. So it's just, I just have to share this, listening to how difficult it is to do something where we're not asking to burden the neighborhood or anything at all. We're not looking to profit at all. We simply want to, divide the property and have both families have their equity and just, live their lives. I just have to say that, not to you board, but just to sort of get it out there. I appreciate what Nat's saying about trying to be creative, that more things like this are happening, because I almost feel foolish to want to stay here, because if we just cashed out, we could, if we just said, okay, let's just sell and go, we'd make so much more money. But this is our home. I want to keep working with kids. I'm still a teacher here. I believe in Nantucket. And so I appreciate the energy. I really believe in Nantucket. I think this is, I feel so fortunate to be part of this community. And I'm not somebody who says it used to be better. I believe you've got to have people stay here to keep it better. So I appreciate the creativity. And I just hope as you guys talk to your colleagues, I don't want to feel foolish for wanting to make my life here. I don't want to feel foolish for not wanting to cash out. And that's why I appreciate the creativity. I just felt the need to express it, and you're kind to let me. Thank you.
Thank you, and no, we don't think that you're being foolish in any way, shape, or form. We completely understand where you're at and your position. So we're just trying to come up with the best solution and best option and best vehicle to make this successful. Peter, we're going to come back to you.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to, it brought to my attention when somebody said about if there was R20 because it stands apart in the Lagunes. Isn't Woodland R20 as well, which is not around the corner from us here?
Yes.
So if there is R20 in our immediate vicinity, then it wouldn't be standing apart so much?
No, but that goes back to the coming back with the neighborhood, so that's where we're trying to build a group. I think that would be a stronger platform for you all.
Yeah.
To talk to the people in
Around
Woodland.
us.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Let me make a motion. That's what you get.
Thanks a
being in the
lot.
room.
I'm making a motion to close the public hearing.
Got a second?
Second.
Okay. Nat,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
All right, then chair's an aye. Okay. Commissioners, thoughts, comments, suggestions?
I'm going to make a motion at this point that we take no action on it, whether, I don't know if we can develop a comment or not on it, because I've got to be really careful about where we go with it. But at least if we take no action, it allows the McKays to be able to bring it up without any repercussions at town meeting. So that's my motion, take no action.
Okay. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, I'm gonna go with John. Barry, any motion?
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
that,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. All right.
And just a comment on Barry's statement, ladies, staff, sorry. We gotta, this comment really has to be worded. I don't think I need to tell you that, how this has to get worded. But at the same time, I think this conversation needs to continue with Susan and figure out a way to plug this into the whole housing issue, whether it be the 240, whether it be the market deed restriction plan, or whatever the next, you know what I mean? So this is unique to Nantucket. And, this isn't going to be the last time this happens. And the fact that they want to stay here, I mean, I'm to the ceiling about that, because that's not what's going on. But at the same time, we don't have a clean solution for them. So we have to come up with something else.
Right.
So,
I agree.
thank you.
Dave, start.
Yeah, now's not the appropriate time, but I'd like to see this on an agenda in the near future and maybe have the board have a discussion about writing a letter to the ZBA in support of the McKays if the board sees fit. And that's it. And Peter and David, I will come to the ZBA as well to support. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's Allison saying thank you
All right,
too.
but we'll be in touch shortly, so don't think we're going away.
Okay.
All right, thanks
thank
again.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Mr. Chair, did you
Yes,
all
ma'am.
vote to close the public hearing and vote to take no action? Megan and I both kind of lost track of what you were,
I thought,
Yeah, it was public and we
Okay.
took a vote to take no
So you took a
action.
vote for
Barry
both?
made the motion.
okay.
yep.
John seconded it. Don't do that to me. We're fine. Okay, moving on to zoning amendment R20 to R10, 32 Appleton Road, Ms. Janikowski. Jakanowski, sorry. No, she's
I'm moving her over.
Okay, please. She live?
Hi.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you. It's Chuckanowski. Thank you.
My apologies.
No worries. It's a tough one. Should I start?
Yep, make your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you. So obviously we had a meeting on January 9th, and I heard a lot of, your request for me to discuss further with the homeowner to see what we actually really do want to do. I do want to just go through a few things just to, preface this. So the homeowner is an owner of 2 restaurants on island, Sophie Tea's and Shangri-La. And it took them a while working with me to target and obtain this property, which we were really excited about, getting a home on island. This particular property is 20,000 square feet. And as you can see, it abuts R10, and then prior to that is R5. So unlike the previous application, this is not spot zoning. The road frontage, you see the property is right at the front of the property, the house. It's the only existing structure currently. So that facade and that roadway would never change because it would remain the same. And there also is, I want to just note, a fire hydrant, because Campbell had mentioned concern about fire safety. And many of you know I have family in California. And so that's been a bit scary, but we were all blessed with being safe out there, our extended family members. So that was a concern, but there is a fire hydrant right across the street. And my understanding is that Jeff Willett did say that even on Surfside and South Shore Road, that location is able to service any future development. And I can imagine that this area should be okay, and at least the fire hydrant is across the street as noted. I don't believe that there would be any concern with the Attorney General signing off on a proposed, zoning change from R20 to R10 because it's not spot zoning. So I don't foresee a problem with that. It would be beneficial for the clients and the homeowners to go from 12.5% current ground cover to the 25%. Should this go through zoning and town meeting and receive we are willing to not seek a further subdivision through the rear lot subdivision program that exists. I can understand that would increase so much density that would probably be alarming to the neighbors, as we discussed during the previous meeting. That's basically my proposal. We do want to be able to use this property to satisfy their own needs for employee housing. And they have 2 sons. We just want to be able to make it so that they can be viable contributors and stay on the island. We do have a shortage of people who are on island business owners, and there is a current need for more employee housing, as we know, throughout the island. That's a concern. And this is an opportunity for us just to solve the concerns, or future needs that they have. Currently, they have employees living in the space in their home, and that's not ideal. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have, but the 25% ground coverage, I mean, at this point, they still are running their businesses, so building out is going to take some time and some increased financial means, which, they are extended at the moment, running 2 businesses, et cetera.
Thank you, Mrs. Jakanowski.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else? Not seeing any of the public board members? Thoughts?
Acting chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
This isn't spot zoning, but this is problematic creep zoning, depending upon how you look at it. So what we've done in this neighborhood is clean up all the RC to that was a struggle. And so now we're at the end and the new beginning kind of thing, where the R20 part is, got a lot of local ownership. And I'm assuming that, that's going to end up being the next area to look at as far as like creating more housing for year-rounders. However, doing it one lot at a time isn't necessarily the right thing. That's the biggest lot, or close to. I think that we need to, take no action for now, but this neighborhood needs to maybe get another look, Leslie, from what we did on Thurston's Way, whatever year that was. That was like, what, 10 years ago? We just did the freeze for Julie, and that was a struggle, okay, to even keep it as R5. I mean, I never thought I'd ever hear anyone say, I want to keep my RC2, but it has happened a couple times. And also, the other thing is the year-round potential down the road of having a ground cover bonus for year-round, which is something that is definitely one of the better ideas, in my opinion, because it doesn't cost anything. And you never notice it, but you don't have to change the zoning. And that's a good thing. So that would be my comment on this for now. That I know that's not pressing. I think that property is excellent for them. I mean, it's a great spot for what they want to do. It's all over the place over there, that kind of development. But I think that just flipping this to R10 tomorrow is not necessarily the right approach. I think we need to give you a little more look at the rest of the lots, talk to the people out there, and also at the same time let this other year-round bonus thing potentially take shape so that that's an easy solution for them. They don't necessarily need a zoning change. They need a ground cover increase is what they really need. So there's a big difference between 12.5 and 25. So that's my thought, Mr. Acting Chair.
Thank you. Dave, I hate you right now. Okay. Yeah, exactly. All right, anyone else want to weigh in? Thoughts? Okay, do we want to close the public comment? Well, I don't see anyone with their hand up.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
You gonna get a second?
Second.
Okay, John, Nat on your motion?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And acting chair is an aye. Commissioners?
Make a motion to take no action on this article.
Okay,
Second.
thank you, John. Nat on your motion?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Mr. Iverson?
Nay.
And the acting chair is an aye. Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Good. What?
Sorry to bother you. Just a quick thought. I don't know if anything's gotten a positive recommendation, but have you been specifying for quantum of vote as well too when we do it?
No, sorry. This is quantum.
Yeah, I was looking at it again and I'm realizing, oh geez, I don't believe we have to do it for the take no action ones, but or do we?
So yes, actually, you should specify that if this article were to be called and town meeting were to act in the positive, it would require a 50% vote.
All right.
Thank you for pointing that out, Barry.
Yes.
Yeah, and it sounds like we have to backtrack for a few minutes here and just do some house cleaning as well.
Yeah, just for Appleton, the article for Monahanset actually is a 2/3 vote. So just, if we could just do this one, that would be great. Thank you.
So I'd make a motion at this point as well that it appears that the quantum of vote for this is 50%.
Second.
Okay, Barry?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Nat?
Aye.
And the chair is an aye. Okay. As I stated earlier,
Continue those. We already
continued
continued
portion 13 Willard Drives and 13A and 13. So we're moving on to zoning amendment, Lug 1 to VR, Rachel Drive and South Shore Road, and the applicant is the Viscos. Megan, do you want to lead us? This is a quantum vote of 50.
Nope, this is a citizen article, so I will kick this right on over to the Viscos to present.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Who is that, Dave?
Yes, I'd like to recuse on this, and I'm going to log back in as a citizen. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome, David.
Dave Visco, 4 Rachel Drive. This began, maybe a couple of years ago, and we were trying to figure out how do we help our family. Things change over the years, definitely. Nantucket changes constantly. As I grew up on the corner right over here, and there was nothing over here. I used to live down on what we were just previously talking about, down on Helen Drive and Thurston's Way. So we were talking to Andrew Vorse before he left, and he was helping us out, and he said, I got just the thing for you guys, and the Village Residential came up. And it's perfect because the subdivision, it's there, boom, it's already there. So I go, oh yeah, it looks good. And I took it around to all the neighbors, they're all in favor of it. And, it's a solution. It's a solution to help Nantucket people stay on Nantucket, really, what it is. A lot of Nantucket people, working people live in this whole South Shore area, and even Nat lives down there. And he's seen just as many changes as I have. So I think that, everybody's on board in the subdivision. Good. They're great people that live in the Rachel Drive area. So this is how, and they want to help their families too. That's what we like. So we came up with this article, and that's what we'd like to do.
Okay. David. Okay. Do we have any from the public? Seeing any? Okay. Commissioners, do you have any comments, thoughts? A concerned citizen, Mr. Iverson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I understand what Dave's trying to do. And I appreciate that. My concern is I bought into this neighborhood in 2014, I believe, and we bought in because it was Lug 2. We like the character of the neighborhood. We have animals, we have open space. And in that time, we've been reduced in a zoning change to Lug 1, so almost doubling the footprint or the build out, and having the size of the lots. And now again, a warrant article's been brought forward to do that again and have the size of the minimum size of the lots and double down on the allowable buildable space. So I just have concern. For me, it's not why I moved in the neighborhood, and I'd just like to voice my concerns about this article. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iverson. Ms. Molden, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Emily Molden for the Nantucket Land and Water Council. respectfully, certainly recognizing everyone's individual circumstances, we also have concerns with this article. Also, I was going to echo the change that the previous speaker referenced from Lug 2 to Lug 1 a number of years ago. Maybe that was almost 10 years ago now. I think that the proposal would roughly double the number of potential lots in this area. And I know that there are opportunities, I believe, in Lug 1 for 2 covenant lots, probably for most of these properties, which would be an alternative that is available to the owners for family members or other island residents. I did want to clarify, because I actually forgot to check that VR is in the country district, which I think it is, right?
Yep.
So that's not necessarily a concern, but we do still have some concerns with changing the density in this specific area to as it's proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mulder. Okay. Anyone else? Seeing anyone?
Well, can I speak again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh. Well, I just think that, you know, things change. Things change in this area. I mean, I've been down there I've been in the South Shore area since the 70s. Worked down in that area. We had our pit down there, and that pit changed into a cluster development, which is about 800 feet away from us. So, you know, the island changes. It's going to change. Not only that, this is going to help the housing situation. In some, it's a small solution, but I think this village residential can be applied to some of the other subdivisions that are on South Shore Road. And I think it's come. I think it's going to come. It's going to happen, I think, you know. And the covenant thing, I can address that. Nobody, I'll be honest with you. Most of the people I talk to don't like the covenant. They don't even like the name, the covenant. I know somebody right now that's trying to, an islander that's trying to get his piece of property on his family land, and he doesn't want to do the covenant. So the covenant is, those things that's out of the, we're not going to do that. We think Andrew came up with the best solution for this. And zoning is a complicated issue. I grew up with it. My father spent a lot of time on the phone with Nantucket people trying to solve these issues. So that's why my wife and I are here. We're trying to help our family and some of the other families in the area. I understand, you know, I bought down there back when, you know, there wasn't much going on. And I actually put that subdivision in, built it myself with my brother. So, yeah, now it's changed. We're at gravity sewer is in South Shore Road. Water is available. And, you know, it's going to help Nantucket people stay on Nantucket. And that's good.
So are you recommending year-round deed restrictions? Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't like any, I mean, I don't like any restrictions. I don't like to live under any restrictions at all. But I would be, open to possibly restricting it to primary and secondary houses only, no tertiary. So the ground coverage, you know, it would be minimal, a little bit more, I think I would be open to that.
Yeah, I don't think that's an option for that VR. Am I correct? Is that?
It's a little bit complicated at the moment because there's a temporary moratorium on tertiary dwellings. There's an allowance of accessory dwelling units by right, which is a state mandate, so it's not such a clear path to offer that. at
To
the
offer
moment.
primary and secondary?
Because our hands may be tied where, and of course, this is all just talking on what my interpretation is, we need this vetted through town council, but there may not be the ability to restrict that third dwelling unit.
Well, I would be, I would be open to that. I don't know what other restrictions you would suggest.
Yeah, I'm just one person, so I just wanted a clarification from you. So, yeah. What you thought now? I don't know.
I'm scared to talk about this. Dave, I've known you since day one, almost. I totally understand where you're coming from, but we gotta like wind this back a little bit here. So, now I lost my screen. There we go. So, 2009 was the first actual zoning change in the whole Badlands.
Yeah, I don't like that name either.
Well, that's what it's called.
Years ago, Nat.
Hey, listen, it used to be Sewer Bed Road. So,
yeah,
don't
I
even get me
learned how to
started.
drive on Sewer Beds Road.
So, that was the first zoning change, okay? It was all lug 2 because nobody wanted to live out there,
yeah.
okay? Then, we tried over and over and over again to get Surfside Crossing property to lug 1. How'd that work out? Should have been R20. But anyway, so your area took longer to get to lug 1. It should have been reversed, but that's just how it was. And it goes in cycles. Everybody gets in on it, and then all of a sudden they don't. The first bite at the apple of zoning change in Badlands was Field and Folger because they were already 50,000 square feet, all undersized, non-conforming lots in lug 2, okay? There was never gonna be sewer. So then came South Shore, then came the 40B, the tennis courts, and they put the pump station at the second highest spot so no one would hook up. Now we got the whole world hooking up 10 minutes later. So this neighborhood here has gone through holistic changes, Dave, and you know that, and that's why what Joe asked you, and what I certainly could talk about for hours, is the deed restriction stuff and the covenant stuff. To say that no one wants covenants, Dave, the covenant program is one of the smartest things we've ever done.
Yeah, well, I don't agree with it.
All right,
so.
but Dave, if you say that at town meeting, you're gonna get no votes.
Maybe. I think you should do something.
The
but
covenant program
don't call it the
is
covenant.
awesome. Okay,
Don't call it the covenant.
but to take a section of the lug 1 that took years to get changed to lug 1 from lug 2, and now to make
I was
it,
involved in that.
I'm just saying, to make it half acre. I'm not saying that there's no merit, but there has to be a process to get that done.
Well, this is the beginning of the process.
No, I understand that. But
if I don't want to be an old man by the time it gets done, I mean, I'm already old enough.
But Dave, this is.
I want to help. I have 4 children, so
yeah. I understand.
And grandchildren.
I understand that, and I'm not saying that that's not an issue, okay?
So do, and other people in the area, want to help out their family. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And we have.
There would have to be.
We have, we have infrastructure available, so it's just a natural process. And I'm here for the long haul, so, and I'm not afraid to, go the whole way, so whatever it takes.
Well, first of all, in the current time we're in now, like we were talking with the McKays, the deed restriction, year-round ownership, market rate, year-round, is gonna be the new next step to give somebody something, okay? And like, I could make the case, if I was just a consultant for all this zoning stuff, I could say, well, we already fixed South Shore in 2015, 2009, et cetera. It's all fixed now because it's in Lug 1, and that's where it should have been 30 years ago, 25 years ago. But no one would have done that then, but because nobody wanted to be there. Okay. Hindsight is a difficult thing, okay? But you can see it now, right? But to go to that next zoning step, there has to be guardrails in it. It can't just be market rate, have a good day, do whatever you want. That is never going to happen. It is never going to happen that way. It just isn't, not now. It has to be some kind of deed restricted agreement to do something like that. I mean, even if it could even get a positive, to get any kind of traction on something like this, there has to be a year-round component, at least. There has to be. Because
I'm here.
It ain't possible.
Most of the people that I've really
Hold
lived
on, let
there
him finish,
year-round.
David, please.
So,
but that doesn't mean that they're not going to sell it to, because you're not going to sell that on the market right now to anybody that lives here, because it's worth way too much.
Well, I understand
Are you
that.
following all that? I mean, that's just, there isn't a $1.5 million house on Nantucket. So it's hard to believe, but that's where we are. And that program is coming. And there's, and that's good for us. But to voluntarily do it is better. And that's good. But again, this has to be, to get traction on something like this. We just went through murder just to get the real lot subdivision in that lot that Diane sold. And it's not changing the zoning, but it's unbelievable. And that was a problem. Forget about changing the zoning. So I think that at the time that we're in right now, there's a lot of potential new tools in the toolbox to help people in your situation, like we just had. But this is different than yours, but it's got some similarities.
Well, I don't just want to help.
No, I know.
My situation. I want, because everybody is on board with doing something in that, in this
block.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
But this block is in the middle of all the Lug 1.
Yeah.
And if it was Lug 1 in the middle of all the Lug 2 and you were trying to do Lug 1, we'd be in the same discussion. And that's why it worked to change the whole entire thing to Lug 1. This is a tough conversation to have, because I want to say yes to everything, but you can't, because some of it is not practical to go to town meeting with.
I don't agree with you, but I understand where you're coming from, but I want to, I see what's going on Nantucket, and I don't like it, but I want to do my small part to help Nantucket people stay on Nantucket, and this is one of them. So if we changed the zoning before I was involved in that, and then Andrew took that over and did a whole bunch of other lots with it. And, you know, we're trying to do something again. Time goes on, things change. It happens. It's inevitable. So, and the longer it takes, you know, people are gonna leave, you know, or sell out. So that's what I'm.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. My wife wants to.
Hi, please state your name, please.
Jana Visco.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, on behalf of my son who's here, that we're trying to have him build his house. The reason the covenant lot doesn't work, it worked 30 years ago, the numbers don't work now. So if he was to build a house on that lot, he's gonna be upside down. So this is what we're asking this generation to do. I don't think we would have wanted to do that. So I know we have to think differently. Things are changing. 2020 happened, the world's upside down. And this is what's happened. And all we're trying to do is help our children stay where they were raised. That's it. And I wish the covenant lot worked, but it really doesn't. Maybe if we had a house already there, it would work. But the numbers of what it costs to build a house is going to be more than what the covenant lot is worth.
That's true.
And that is not fair to do to our kids. I mean, my son is 38 at this age I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I just really want we're trying to figure out creative solutions that make sense to keep people here. And people will, our community people, they're gonna leave, you know, and we don't wanna leave. We don't want our kids to leave. So we're just trying to be creative and think of something that actually works in the VR zoning. Like, it's not perfect for us. We're having to sacrifice, you know, to be more dense in our own neighborhood. But we're willing to do it for our community because our kids work within the community. And so do we. So I guess that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay. Board members, anyone else? Barry, do you want to weigh in? John?
I'm good.
Good to go.
Okay. All right. What do we want to do?
How much time do we have left?
What to say?
Mary, I mean, yeah.
Leslie, back in. Take a pick, kid.
I mean, not a lot. We have
No.
next week's meeting that is incredibly full, and then, March 6th is really intended to go over comments. I mean, if we have to move to March 6th, we can, but, yeah, there's not a whole lot of time.
And, excuse me, if I can add to that, the Finance Committee is expecting me to go with your motions to the extent that you have them completed on February 10th. So the more that you have by the 10th, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Joe.
Go ahead.
All right, so David and Jana and all of you, let's just try to roll back a little bit. What you said about the covenant is true, but there's a lot of people here with new build covenants now that aren't leaving, that are paying mortgages that are more valuable than the property to sell now, today. Building an underwater house is unfortunately part of that. It's just the way it is. Now, there are other programs that are coming, subsidy for it, the land part. Now, you don't have to buy the land, you already own it. But imagine somebody buying a covenant lot and building a house too. Now you're at 1.5 million. and you're only worth 740,000. Like Aaron, some of my neighbor down the street from me has a brand new one, and Scott, and there's a few other ones, not many. That is an issue now. It wasn't an issue 10 years ago, but it is now. When you have free land, it's still $1 million. I always tease people, $1 million for a free house, right? It's the truth, right? But making this be subdividable to be market rate lots, and you still got to build $1 million house on it, now all of a sudden it's worth X. That doesn't make, you have the land to build on. It just isn't market rate land, technically, okay? Everybody's, I always say this, everybody's portfolio is different. All of us are different. I'm lucky to have what I have. Was able to sell. I built just before everything went crazy. I don't know how I didn't know that. I would have built 2 houses. But now it is doubled in 5 years. No question about that. It's true. But this is a bigger conversation than just you. This is a huge, when we talk about zoning changes, it's like you're sticking your finger in a light socket now. It wasn't like that a few years ago. Now it is again. It goes in cycles. And in my opinion, what you want to do is noble if there was guardrails. And it's a conversation that needs to happen, whether it be here, whether it be the Affordable Housing Trust, whether it be this, to be like, okay, what's acceptable to the people that would be against this if it's not just doubling the value and selling another time? Like, to keep it year-round, market year-round is, and to me, has a huge value. And so does it to other people that are doing this every day, as far as the other commissions and stuff. So I'm just trying to make, I don't want this to become an argument, certainly not here, but at the same time, I don't want you to go to town meeting with that same story, because it's going to turn into something, well, what about the next neighborhood? What about the next neighborhood? And that's the problem we face. We don't have a zoning district that makes these be perfect for what everyone wants. Like, we just can't keep making new zoning districts. It's complicated. You know, that's why when I talk to staff about, we've already talked to everyone about this ground cover bonus thing. That's actually a great tool in some people's cases. They don't have any more land to subdivide, but they could build a decent sized house that they can't build because they're out of ground cover, and it's year round. That's a good thing, and that's easy to sell. But this is a little bit harder. That's all I'm trying to say, Janet. I'm not trying to say that this isn't right for you or right for the neighbors. It was right for everyone when we changed to Lug 1, the whole place. Now we're trying to do another next step. And the gravity sewer that Dave brought up, people don't even know about that, David. There's a 16-inch line now down the street that's gravity, or 12-inch. That should have been done 40 years ago. Because nobody knows we were pumping everything to Manny's and back out to Surfside in a big circle. Now we don't have to do that anymore. But everybody put new septic systems in, now they're gonna have to hook up. In your street, you'd have to bring it all the way out with gravity. But I'm just saying, that's gonna be a difference. Town water and sewer is gonna change everything. But at the same time, restricting to build is gonna be the next message. I just don't know what else to say. I mean, that's not just me.
Can you clarify that?
Restriction?
Restriction
The year,
besides the year.
okay, so this is where,
Because you're saying year round, so I like to know what
Megan, can you explain
that
all
actually
Because you're
means.
the, whatever you are, what's your other position? Explain what that means, the year-round deed restriction that's market,
So
which is the next.
Nantucket has been designated as a seasonal community. And through
As a
that,
what?
as a seasonal community, so Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard.
Even though we all know we are.
Yep, some of the towns on the Cape, some of the towns in the Berkshires, so recognizing that, you know, maybe we should be granted certain exemptions, and they're still flushing some of that out. But one of those that has already been decided is that Nantucket, through the Affordable Housing Trust or their year-round housing trust, can place year-round deed restrictions on properties, where in the past that, you know, that didn't correlate well with fair housing and other parameters that needed to be followed. So that is something that now, because of that designation, we have the ability as a community to place year-round restrictions on residential property.
So David, did you get that? I mean, this.
Your mic, your mic.
Sorry.
So I believe it, and I don't have the definition in front of me
I'm just
at the
saying-
moment, but it
So this-
means it would have to be occupied for a year-round by a year-round resident. A year-round resident is defined as someone who spends 10 or more months on Nantucket.
Okay, that's what I was looking.
Yes.
Yeah, I was looking for the time frame, you know, a little more broken down into actual.
So what this has done, David, okay, and Jana, this is really important for you too. You're in my age bracket, like you kind of, like, what are we doing, right? If you take and restrict a house of a lot to market to year-round ownership, it's gonna make the value find that lower level, but not a covenant level, but a 1.5 or 1.6 or whatever that number is gonna end up being, because it can't become an off-island summer pool house and all that. So that is what Megan is talking about. A conventional covenant lot, yes, you're right, that's worth, the value of the lot is actually the biggest problem now, because nobody wants to sell one because they can't get enough money for it, right? Forget about the house part. The existing second dwellings, which is what you brought up, which was actually really a good point, those are getting carved out and sold because they're already built for nothing, right? If you have a house that's already built 30, 40 years ago, it was free compared to today. So if you sell it for that 7, that's a lot of money when you didn't really have any cost, because you don't have a note on it. But now a new build is a whole nother animal with a covenant. So the next step in this whole housing thing has to be a deed restricted property as a whole. There is no other answer. There just isn't. And that's what we're talking about, David. So the value of your land would still be high. It just isn't going to be off-island high. It's going to be in that medium 240 median income, 1.5, 1.6, that area. You got to talk to Sully. You got to talk to people that know all this stuff every day. I'm just throwing numbers around, but I'm in the right ballpark.
Well, yeah, you know.
And that's the thing, David. You can't have the value of off-island market and the zoning change all in one package. I mean, it just isn't, that just isn't going to fly, you know, and I just don't want that to happen. Like, that's not the right way to look at it. And, you know, it just isn't. When we looked at the amount of zoning changes that we've done in the last 20 years, 19 years, is unbelievable. But they needed to be done because it was so lopsided. We had RCO all over the place in Lug 2, and it's like, what are we doing with this, right? And we still have some mixed up zoning, but it's nothing like it used to be. But these new tools are going to change things for people to be able to still build and still have value, but not the covenant necessarily. I would be in favor of something like this in a large area if there was a way to restrict to year-round. Because it's not a holistic zoning change in the sense of like it was in 2015.
Okay, and then we're going to kind of stop spitballing,
Well,
yeah.
Yep, sorry.
That,
They don't get to have these stuff.
I understand the year-round thing. I don't know if that's gonna fly with everybody in that you know, I don't know if they would be in agreement then if I brought that to the rest of the neighbors that, oh, you can do it, or, you know, but.
So I
Or
guess,
if you want to do the whole, you know, if you guys want to take this on and do a larger area, I don't know.
so it sounds like you need to go sit down with your neighborhood. You kind of figure out what you want to do. And if I agree, not kind of, I agree with Nat. I think the year-round restriction is probably the only, you know, thing you can hang your hat on to make this successful. But that's me. I don't know if Barry or John have any thoughts, but, you know, if you want to come back and just say yes or no, and that's, I guess by then we'll close the public comment and vote on this. But that would be my recommendation to you, is I think you need to go have a conversation with everyone involved all along that roadway or whatever the addresses are, and just come up with an option for us. You know, I think that would be the smartest way to do. Because right now, all we're doing is we're going round and round in circles. We've been doing like 10 minutes. And the last comment that Nat was making was probably, you know, finally dies on the road. But I think right now, I think it would be wise for you to just go have that conversation and come back to us. And we can put a date certain. You guys all come back. I think what are the dates again, Megan?
The 6th, and what I did fail to mention before is the 6th is getting lengthy, but your regular meeting on the 10th shouldn't be too long. So if you want to maybe push this to the 10th, and then
Does that give
that
enough
gives you an
time?
additional weekend to talk to everybody.
Look, listen, the last thing I want to do is say no to locals. But sometimes you have to. I don't want to say no. I want to say maybe. I want to say, well, let's discuss. Let's wait a year. Let's come back with something different. Dave, we get blamed for just about every car that's ever come here. It's unbelievable. Like, we can't go to town meeting with something that, that we're supporting, as Joe said, hang your hat on something that we know is going to blow up. We don't want that. I don't even think people that would be against this, no matter what, want that really to happen either, because everybody needs everybody here. Okay, we're all in Stop and Shop. We're all everywhere together. But we got to find a way to get to that next step to do something like this. This is too big of a. It's too big to just say, oh yeah, this is no problem. We're going to have VR in the middle of all this lug one because they want to stay here. Like that just isn't going to be enough of an answer.
All right,
okay.
Can I go to John?
That's all.
All right. John, Mr. Kitchener.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess there's a question to Mr. Visco and perhaps you, Mr. Chair, that you can see, Mr. Visco, how complicated this all is. You know, you can just the length of this conversation. And given that time now is of the essence, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be, the most practical next step would be if our staff members, either Ms. Snell or Ms. Trudell, could sit down and perhaps talk to you and your neighbors so that everyone can understand what we've just tried to explain to you over the last 40 minutes or so. Because I don't think it would be useful for you to come back and we go down this same path again. And we could perhaps avoid that if there was an opportunity for staff to talk to you and all your neighbors, so that at least you then, understand exactly what is and what is not possible at this moment. But having said that, Mr. Chair, I know that our own staff are, way underwater with work at this particular point. But for me, that would be the next logical step. And whether that means this has to move to special town meeting or not, I would leave to others. But this kind of conversation needs to be had with our staff that can really explain this to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And Leslie or Megan, town council would have to weigh in on this as well, because they're all speed restrictions that would be attached to all these lots, correct? Just to make sure everything's,
Yeah, so what the process has been in the past is that when an article sponsor offers to deed restrict their property, you would want to work with your attorney to craft that language. You would work with planning staff, Leslie and I, to coordinate with town council just to make sure everyone's on the same page with the language. We would then just hold the documents in our office. If this were to move forward at town meeting at that time, we would have the select board sign the documents and they would go on record. If it didn't pass, we would return the documents to you and they would not be recorded against the property.
yeah, and I wanted to say that, I mean, it's a tight timeline.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't force something. So, we have
Right.
another special town meeting coming forward. So if you can get everything together and I get it right in the proper package, I think that would be a wise thing to do and be very prudent for you all. I mean, because I think right now you'd go into town meeting and, we've been seeing this not happen, as Nat has been saying. It's just some articles are just failing. But I think if you can have the entire staff and your group together, I think that would be a more successful avenue for you all. And just briefly, because we're going to.
And I think, Joe, the Sully and Affordable Housing Trust.
If you don't know, Brian Sullivan Sully, just FYI.
This conversation is happening. Not exactly what you're doing, but that the restriction part, the year-round ownership part is all out there now because there's no other avenue. There is none. You're either worth 3 million or you're worth 740,000 if it's a covenant. Like, there's no way to get that medium value and to give something, you got to get something when it's something like this. You know what I mean? And that's the new thing. This wasn't discussed 5 years ago.
Yeah,
4
there's
years
a lot
ago.
of other issues with the restriction that we probably don't have enough time to talk about here, obviously, but.
No, but I think
other
set up a
things.
meeting with the staff. I mean, first your group, and if everyone seems this is a way to go, then we should have outreach with the staff, et cetera, and then, kind of keep moving this ball forward. We're not saying no, but I think there's more ducks in a row you got to get lined up. I think right now it's a lot of, things that are kind of still flying out there. So, I don't mean to cut you off, but I just think that right now, I think you just need to have a conversation with your group, and I think that would be most important and prudent for you all. So.
All right, yeah,
Let's-
thanks. I
just-
said, I knew.
No, I mean,
We're gonna have
listen,
discussions.
like Nat was saying, we'd love to figure out some way to get this to work. That's, again, we are 5 members, and it's going to be probably 400 to 500 people in a room. So that's your major challenge,
Well, one reason why Andrew suggested that was because it only needs 50%.
Yeah, but still.
2/3.
Okay.
Because it took 2 town meetings to go from 2 to 1.
Right, so, okay.
And that's true. The 50% versus 2/3 is definitely a big deal.
Yeah.
I think, though, that the new benefit conversation, you all say, I want to stay here. And the whole neighborhood says, I want to stay here.
Hey, Nat, have you got your microphone on? We can't hear you.
Your mic on?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I
Thank you,
shut
John.
myself up. Sorry about that. When you say, I want to stay here, but it's still market rate, that's not the same thing as it might have been, in another era. It's every time something goes on the market that's in the mid-island, and it goes for 3 and 2.5, and it's like, well, there's one more house, one more lot that's gone, right? Gray Avenue is Hobart Avenue. We didn't know that was going to happen either. So it's that there has to be a bigger conversation. That's all I'm going to say. I've said it 100 times tonight. I'm sorry.
You have his number, don't you?
Yeah, I certainly do. But it's not us that's deciding this. And that, you got to keep that. If we give this a positive recommendation tomorrow and say, all in favor, say aye, 5-0, 4-0. That doesn't mean it's going to pass. It's actually probably the opposite, but in some cases. But this is a bigger conversation than just Rachel Drive.
Okay, so why don't we continue this?
To the 10th, continuing to the 10th. I'll make that motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Yeah, I know time is short, so.
No, we get it. And listen, we totally get it. All right. So Nat on your motion. Barry, I'm sorry, I heard you first, John.
Good.
Okay. Okay.
Aye.
And the chair is an aye to continue. Okay. All right. Moving on to.
What are we doing now?
You're welcome.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But yes, please let us know as soon as your neighborhoods get together. Okay, thank you. All right, so upcoming meetings, we have a special meeting on Thursday, February 6th. That is 4 p.m. in a hybrid. Then we have a regular meeting on Monday, February 10th. That is 4 p.m. That is also a hybrid. And then we have a special meeting for.
Oh, hybrid. Never mind. Sorry.
As I was. So Thursday, March 2nd, the 6th, at 4 p.m. And that is remote only. So that is, does anyone else have any comments or anything? Board? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Not yet. Just hold on 1 second.
I just asked you.
I know,
comments.
no, I want to just, Emily's here. Billy's here, staff. This is complicated, and we knew this was coming. I'm not talking about the last article. I'm talking about just this overall conversation, and now we have ADU and all this, and it's like, what happened? Like, all this stuff has happened in 10 minutes, and Nantucket didn't have a problem. We have a problem, but we didn't have a problem with a number of dwellings on a lot. We certainly didn't have that problem. So I just feel like my biggest concern is us as a board getting beaten up at town meeting again, like in the old days, for something that we never really actually did. You know what I mean? This has sort of all come up at the same time, right? And whether it's the McKay situation or the Visco situation, they're not the same, but they're a tough conversation. Each of them are difficult to talk about without having a better idea of what to do. It's easy on the one on Appleton is different because it's got the same zoning around and different stuff, and it's kind of an easier conversation.
Let's just be careful about not treading back into public hearings that would.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you follow? I'm just trying to say, overall, this conversation it's almost like it's starting all over again because the covenant program is not keeping up with the times, the interest rates, all these different things, building costs, and the lack of land. And here we are. And it's not our fault. So thank you. Okay, Joe, I'm sorry, acting chair, but I'll make a motion to adjourn now. Thank you.
Can I get a second, please? You're muted, John.
Good.
Okay. Nat on your motion.
Second.
John on your motion.
Aye.
Harry on your motion.
Aye.
And the acting chair is an aye. Dave dropped off, so we will talk to him later. All right, thank you, everyone. Good night.
All right.